Baruch Hashem, I had a tremendous pleasure yesterday of spending time with Rav Moti Gottlieb. Rav Moti is essentially the one behind this entire project, the entire Letal B'Torah, and really somebody responsible to help bring the Torah of Rebbe Nachman of Breslov, thousands of Yidden around the world, Mamish Ma'ar B'Kanfei Sa'aretz. And he was explaining that these are Torahs that are happening in Litvisha yeshivas and Panovich, and you can't even imagine where these Torahs have gone to, in Chassidish places, and Dati Lumi, and sort of religious, not so religious, that these are Torahs now that are spreading around the world, and that Rebbe Nachman in his life, even in his biggest time, which was Rosh Hashanah, his biggest time he had 600 people come to see him. There's not so many. And that was also some of the schleppers, some of the Chevera. Not all of those were so close to him. And that he said that my Torahs are going to go, and when my Sefer Lekutei Moharan really starts to come out, Mashiach's going to come, and some very lofty things, like it's nice for a Rebbe to say something, but like, how do you know if it's really emes? And you see as the years go on that this light of Rebbe Nachman is getting brighter and brighter. It's starting to develop steam. It's getting momentum. And you see it's an ore that's bringing people home. It's an ore that's touching people's hearts in wondrous ways. It's an ore that people tell me around the world that the Torah's Rebbe Nachman are bringing them back to life. That they felt that maybe so much of their life was not exactly so alive. And these Torahs are bringing me back to life. And then he told me some more things. He said that these are Torahs that are so deep, that it's not enough that you just, you learn a Torah like reading a newspaper or something. The Torah should be learned be'ian gadol mamish. And he said to me that there's two hakdamas. There's two things, two klolim that you really need to know in learning the Torah of Rebbe Nachman. The first thing is that everything is befelis of a mishkal gadol me'oid. Every single thing in Rebbe Nachman every word is carefully chosen. It could be medactic and looked into and thought about. In certain places in the word of Rebbe Nachman that you could learn it like kemikra. That's a very, how do you even say such a thing? For an achron to say that you can medayik my words like chumash. Like certain wild statements. And as the generations go on and people, I'm telling you, from every walk of life, anybody who comes to our shul or Avram on a Friday night, you just see every type of hat, no hat, up hat, down hat, left hat, right hat, everything. The 14-inch strimel, the nothing, the sruga, whatever. There's like Rosh Yeshiva there. You see that Rebbe Nachman's light is not political, you know what I'm saying? It's for everybody. It's for everybody. And like they said, Aaron Karlin famously said that Kashem Shakadosh Baruch Hu Lakol, that in the way that Hashem is for everybody, so too Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is Lakol. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is for every single Jew. Afilu Apchusim, even the lowly ones. And I want to extend that to Rebbe Nachman also. That you feel that this is like a light that is touching people in wondrous ways. So we said the first klal that people need to know is you could be medayik everything. Everything mamish. You have a word, you have a thought. Ask questions. Think about it. There's no question that's not a good question. It's touching you. Rebbe Nachman's Torah is touching you. Something is happening inside of you. Let yourself be moved by it. Let yourself think about it. These amazing additions, which are just nifla, that they leave, first of all, they're just gorgeous. I appreciate beauty. When something is done in a beautiful way, like it feels beautiful, it's nice. They also left space on the sides that you could write in notes. There's spaces at the end for chidushim. They leave all this space like for you. That Rebbe Nachman leaves space for you. That you could put yourself into the Torah, as we'll see. That Rebbe Nachman is going to talk to you through the Torah. It's beautiful that you can live with this. So the first thing is to be medayik mamish. Like, what do you have to say about the Torah? What is it touching you? What is it doing for you? Furthermore, the second hakdama is that a person should know that don't come in with your own hakdamas. Meaning, everything in Rebbe Nachman, you have to know, is like an or chadash. It's like a new light that he brought to the world. And therefore be open to a whole new way of seeing things. And this is sometimes a harder thing for people that are like real Talmidei Chacham. They come in, they're like, you see an Inyan. We were talking last night about Klipas Noiga. Klipas Noiga. I know what Klipas Noiga is. I learned Tanya. Klipas Noiga. I got a whole mahalach in Klipas Noiga. I verstehe Klipas Noiga. So the idea is that be open to a whole new universe of what Klipas Noiga means. And really, these two principles of being medayik everything, and the second principle, bless you, of being open without your own kind of like, let me put all this outside information into Rebbe Nachman. Let the Rebbe speak. All of this is based on a principle, and this is something we were speaking about a lot last night, with Moti and I, is the idea of minei ubei. That minei ubei, and you're going to hear these words a lot. Minei ubei means from the Torah itself. Minei ubei. From it, and in it, the whole thing, everything you need to know about the Torah is in the words themselves. Meaning, if somebody came and they walked into Eshet Torah today from Timbuktu, and they never heard anything, they say, I don't know, like I don't have any, what do I know about anything? I don't know anything, don't worry. Based on what we're going to be talking about, you have all the content you need. What do you mean? Like I don't need like all this other information? No. You might need to know basics like, there's a God, because we're going to talk about God a lot. And there's something called davening, like I heard about davening, it's talking to God. And what that guy is doing there in the painting. Like I heard about that a little bit, But I don't need to know all this external information, which is also very encouraging for somebody who says, I'm new to this. Don't I need to know so much to understand these deep concepts? No, it's all within the Torah itself. Minei ubei. Just so you appreciate who Rav Moti is, that he wrote a sefer on Torah Vav, which we learned together a couple years ago. Torah Vav, it's very deep Torah. Rabbi Shemar said we should learn Torah Vav, so we learned Torah Vav, very deep Torah. He spent 3.5 years on Torah Vav. Torah Vav is not a long Torah, it's not short, it's not long. It's saying, here's Torah Vav, begins here, a lot of notes. Okay, and Torah Vav ended, 2 pages. He spent 3.5 years on Torah Vav, 4 to 5 hours a day learning Torah Vav. Should I say that again? 4 to 5 hours a day on Torah Vav. And what happens, I'm just beginning to feel these experiences. What starts to happen when you learn Rebbe Nachman is you go into a world where, okay, I think I understand the Torah. And then let me see it again. And all of a sudden something lights up to you, like a word that you didn't notice. It's like sparkling. I didn't even see that was there. And you see like a new fresh mahalach. And you see a new thing going on. And a new way of looking at the whole thing. Because Rebbe Nachman he was drawing things down from very, very high places. And he put this all in to the Lekutei Moharan. And something is happening when you're learning it, and he wants that you're a part of it. That's what it means, that everything should be bediktuk mamish, that you could ask questions. And therefore, as we're going to be going forward, the most important thing is ask, think. This is not a monologue. This is a dialogue. I want to hear. I want you guys. And he basically ended last night by saying to me, he said, Moshe Chaim, the most important thing for the guys, this is somebody who knows Lekutei Moharan, and so much of this is in the merit of his father, we were speaking about, would sit and just learn Lekutei Moharan for hours, 7 hours straight, one of these big Lekutei Moharans, the oversized ones, the Geschmacka ones, lying down, on a bench. Because he said, Rabbi Gamliel would learn Torah standing up. And then they sat down. But at the end of the day, it's we're like shvach, so we learn. But I'm saying for 7 hours like this, a little pad of paper, just writing notes. And every time somebody would come to Ramota's father to say a new thing, he'd be like, wow. I'm saying he's learned it hundreds of times. Wait a second, say it again. Say what you just said again. Wow, I never saw that gavan. I never saw that light. I never saw that sparkle in this Torah. I never saw it before. You just opened me up to a whole new cook, a whole new derher, a whole new way of looking at this Torah. So you should know, this is a gold mine that's a present to you guys. And he says the greatest thing is that you have Yidden, that they can begin to learn the Torah themselves. That you're giving them the tools to open up Lekutei Moharan wherever they are in the world. And that they have a mahalach in learning it. And therefore, we're going to be going deeper now. Deeper into this whole experience. Mamish. And everything that we thought that we knew, I'm talking to myself, I want to be open now. I want to be open to the ore that could come down right now. That really, what I'm starting to see is that this is like a meditative tool. It's like a dreidel. You know what the dreidel is all about? The dreidel wasn't this game that, how did we all learn growing up in Sunday school? So the Greeks said you're not allowed to learn Torah. So, as soon as we heard them coming, we closed our books and we started spinning a dreidel. So the dreidel was some narishkeit nothing. It had nothing to do with anything. It was a nothing and nobody. It was like a decoy. And it was a way to just say we want to protect the real thing, so we'll play with some kiddie toy. So my Rabbi always says, you think the dreidel was like a decoy? The dreidel was the Torah deeper. The dreidel was them, after they learned that Torah, they would spin the dreidel and meditate. The dreidel was the first meditative tool because the dreidel is all about taking corners, sides, multiplicity, pa'ulus mishtanis, and when you spin a dreidel, what happens? You turn squares into circles. You spin the dreidel, you don't see any square anymore. Everything becomes one. It's a meditative tool. And tzaddikim that are spinning dreidels, they're not stammering, but you see Rav Gamliel, he's spinning a dreidel. All these pictures on the Yeshiva World News and all these things. Rav Gamliel spinning his dreidel. What do you think? And they're taking it very seriously. The dreidel becomes this meditative tool to draw down meditative light. That Lekutei Moharan is like a meditative, I could even speak this way, a meditative tool that opens you up to bringing down light into your soul. And then he told me something else. I had such a great night last night. Just learning all of this. That, you think you're learning one thing. Remember we were learning a lot about Kel, Elokim, Yudke Vavke, that the three kavim of emes. Kel is the power of davening that Hashem calls Yaakov Kel, as if to say God. Because Yaakov had the power of prayer, that prayer could change nature. And Elokim is Torah, the rabbis, and the truth of that. And Yudke Vavke, we said, is, nobody forgets this one, Shidduchim. Because even Lavan said, Me Hashem Yotza Davar, from Yudke Vavke, and this is the truth that Hashem is organizing everything. So we're thinking about the three kavim of emes, and they're coming into the Arba Chelkei Adibur. And we think we're talking about something over here, and it's all very nice. And Chanukah is Hallel and Haidah, and it's very nice. And all of a sudden, he said, Rebbe Nachman's doing this open heart surgery on you. You're talking about something here, and you didn't even realize that he's fixing things. He's going inside. He's reorganizing stuff inside of you. He's moving, he's healing things inside of you. That these Torahs have such a big light that you don't even realize it's happening. Something starts going on inside of you. And the deeper you learn the Torah, you come out, you're like, what just happened? I feel like something big is happening, and it's building emunah in me. Even ways that I couldn't fully understand. Like, I knew something was happening, but it builds something deep and profound inside of me. So we're talking about real stuff here. So we're going to be going back in. There's something that I wanted to also do, because it's just so nifla that they put these out, is that in this new edition, they put the Chai Klalim, that there are 18 principles of how to learn Lekutei Moharan. So tomorrow I want to go into that. We're actually going to start going through these principles. So we're going to be going into the Torah, but now what I want is that people make it your own. You make it your own. And anything that you think about or feeling, this is now a time that let the Torah speak inside of you. Let this be like a meditative. I always felt, you sit with the coffee, it's already meditative. At 6:30 in the morning. Let this really be the next level of, I want to feel this relationship. And by the way, everything we're talking about in the Rambam, in Hanukkah, this whole thing is so much about the prophetic experience of drawing down light, of drawing and being receptive to this transmission. So here, this is a technology to receive this light. So we're going back in, and we're coming with fresh eyes. It's like, Hashem, what do you want me to see here? And I'm open to that. Any questions? Comments? Thoughts? We're in Tinyana Bays. So this edition has the whole thing. You just could start right from the beginning here. Tinyana Bays.
From the very beginning of
This one?
Oh, there it is.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
To be clear, these are yeshiva copies, right? We shouldn't, right?
No, this is a gift to you.
Oh.
Isn't that nice? It's a gift to you. And do you have the English one?
Yeah, I think
So that the English one, if you choose, you could already go. It's amazing. You can already go, if you choose, right to the English side of it, which is on page 101. And with Chaim Kramer.
Didn't we learn about, Hanukkah last time? Like the last...
You think we know about Hanukkah? I have no idea what Hanukkah is. Maybe a little bit. I lit some candles. But we'll see. Most of this Torah was... How many times did we even say the word Hanukkah? Not that many. We're speaking about birth, shidduchim, the way blood moves through your body, our lungs, healing, emunah, emes, tzedakah, speech. We're now going into a whole deeper realm. It was like if we were sort of, like when you go swimming a little bit and you put those like little, little floaties, and you're a kid, you're like, yeah, I'm swimming. And then like a guy like a Michael Phelps is like, you think that's swimming? And then he's not. And then you get some scuba diver guy who's like, you think that's swimming? Michael, I'll show you swimming. And he's down deep in the coral reef.
This whole book is on Torah base?
Oh yeah. Come on, Daniel. There's big stuff happening here. It's a gold mine. It's mamish a gold mine. And just appreciate right now that there are Yidden all over the world, sitting like this, groups that are going in, the fnai v'lifnim, going deeper and deeper, and uncovering layers. And you should know that there's such a thing that the old Masorah in Breslov is that people, they would stay on Torahs for a long time. Like Be'i and Mamish. Like Mamish. And you start unearthing yourself. You start finding yourself. So don't worry, it's not going to be for years. It'll be for like another, little bit. Thoughts, questions, feelings, emotions?
How could it be that an Achron could say that and do that?
So they say that there's Chamishi Yechidei Adairos, there's like 5 greats through the generations that were unique in their light. Moshe Rabbeinu, of course. And it says that the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, it says in the Zohar, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu comes in every single generation. Like Rebbe Nachman speaks about this in Kuf Chaf Gimel, about the light of the tzaddik emes, the true tzaddik. That generally, before, if we go back to Adam and Chava and Gan Eden, after they ate from the Eitz Hadas Chevera, so it wasn't great. When they ate from the Eitz Hadas Chevera, what happened was that Tov and Ra became mixed into them. Became mixed in. And mixed into them means I'm confused. That's the suffix. Suffix means I'm confused. That's the nachash. The nachash brings the suffix. And the nachash is Amalek. The gematria is suffix. I don't know what's good, what's not. I wake up in the morning. Is this a good thing to do or not? And sometimes something that I think is a good thing to do is really not a good thing. Some things that I think is not a good thing is probably a good thing. Things are confusing. So it's hard for me to navigate through this world when things become very confusing. This world's not a simple place, a confusing place. But then Hashem gave a gift. Hashem gave a gift when Moshe Rabbeinu came to the world. Like the Torah says, V'ra ki toivu, they saw he was tov. He had no ra. Meaning he was a light that came to the world that had no ra. He was only tov. And the Sfarim say, but everything in the world is tov v'ra. There has to be an equal opposite force. Who was the equal opposite force of Moshe? Who was the ra? Bilam. They were two parts of the same soul. Moshe Rabbeinu was kuloi tov, and Bilam was kuloi ra. And they're both prophets. Now, when you have advice from somebody who's tov v'ra, sometimes things are mixed into that. Now, a person could be much more tov. He's done so much working on himself, and he's a great person, but he has this admixture of tov v'ra. But then there are certain tzaddikim, which are tzaddikim that come from the world of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's kuloi tov. It's kuloi tov. So they say that light went into Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in a very strong way. That light went into the Arizal in a very strong way. And that light went into the Baal Shem Tov in a very strong way. And that light went into Rebbe Nachman in a very strong way. So we're talking about a world of kuloi tov. Now, we're into all the tzaddikim. We love all tzaddikim. And amet kulam tzaddikim. But then there are those that are at a different level, the kuloi tov. So that's the world that we call the tzaddik emes. So Rebbe Nachman has this light. Now, for somebody like an Achron to be speaking that way, so it's almost like, okay, let's see. You got a few hundred schleppers over there in Uman and Breslov, some of your Chevera. And by the way, some of the Chevera, who were big people, some were admoirim. Nachman had students that were older than him that were admoirim, like Rebbes, who said, this young guy, he passed when he was 38. He's the one. But his light was not mispashet. His light was not mispashet, did not spread forth until really later. But he said these wild things. But you see that as hundreds of years have gone on, all of those words are coming true. The light is not small. It's like an inferno. Yes, Dan.
I also once heard someone told me he went to the Yenuka. It was a big tzaddik. Yenuka's like a big Sephardi rabbi, probably one of the bigger rabbis. Apparently the Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir asks him questions or something sometimes. Like he's a big tzaddik. He's like in his 30s. He looks like a regular guy. I met him a couple of times. And someone told me he was listening to Shir by him, and he said that the Lekutei Moharan, all of the Torah is in the Lekutei Moharan. Everything. I was like, what? He also said he read Sefer Hamidos by Rebbe Nachman more times than he has hair on his head.
How much hair is he on his head?
He's got a full head of hair. He does have good.
And he's not even a Breslover, he's just a Sephardi guy. I guess he learns Breslov stuff. But
Bro, how much is this?
It's yours, a gift.
Really?
It's a gift, yeah.
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
Can you buy
Not only do we get content, but we
Thank
get
you so
books.
much, Rabbi.
Can you buy these?
Like, can I buy something that's the whole?
Yes, if Chaim Kramer, he should be healthy and well. Yes. The black versions, you see, it says like Lekutei Moharan and like silver. Some guys have them in the base medrash. They're all over the place. I didn't count, but there's probably like 15 volumes. It's exactly this. They extracted from the Breslov Research Institute this Torah. Reb Chaim Kramer wrote on everything. The whole Lekutei Moharan like this, with detail.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable. Mamish. It's incredible. And that he opened it up to the English-speaking world. And Reb Chaim Kramer just did that for Rav Nosson, for Lekutei Halachos, which is also, Lekutei Halachos is even bigger. And you should know, Rebbe Nachman had a lot of students, some of them that were very, very big. But Rav Nosson became the biggest. The biggest. And he was only with Rebbe Nachman, I think, for 8 years. There were people that were with Nachman for many years. Like I'm saying, people that were old, very big, mechubed, big people, like Gedolei Yisrael. So they said to Rav Nosson, like they said, like, why did you become the one? Like, so the way I understand it is that he said, all of you come to the tzaddik and you feel like, the tzaddik is the tzaddik, but like I also know things. I'm also a choshev guy. He said, when I came to Rebbe Nachman, I realized that the ore of the tzaddik, I made complete space inside of me. I made total space for that light to come in, and because of that, it made me what it made me. I mean, he didn't become less, I'll tell you that much. He didn't become less. He jumped in, and he became more. Sometimes people feel, and I like to think about this, that if I jump into the fire, like, that's it, I'm done, I'm gegangen. So they say by Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu jumped into the fire. He didn't become any less. He became more. The Kabrina Rebbe says that a bigger miracle that Avram Avinu was not burned by the cauldron was that he didn't burn the fire. He was so on fire. That's a much bigger miracle. Not that he didn't get burned. That the fire didn't get burned. I don't understand how the fire didn't get burned by the light of Avram Avinu. So a person going into these Torahs, that's part of the second cloud that we mentioned, the second Hakdama, which is I'm coming in open to the Or, which is all part of the Mineu Bey, is that every single thing inside Lekutei Moharan, it's all in here. And I'm opening myself to this new universe, this world of these Torahs, and I have a place in that. But I come with this feeling of I'm open to this light. I'm open to this Or. Any other questions? Yes?
What is the difference between being completely open, yet with a healthy mind for disagreement, versus being not open?
So
where's that line?
So the openness, I think, is just I'm coming with a certain sense of I appreciate there's something very big here, and I'm open to really listening to what's being said. Sometimes in therapy, one of the biggest things that happens between husbands and wives is, lo aleinu, is this feeling like, he's not listening to me. So the guy will say, what do you mean? I can say every word back. So the therapist is like, okay, but she's telling you that you're not listening to her. So what do you mean? Of course I am. Now what is she really expressing? Sometimes it's the opposite. I feel like you're coming with your thing. I don't feel like you're really trying to just hear what I have to say. Now, you don't become less of a man because you're just trying to listen to your wife. You become much more of a man because you're able to welcome in this light called your wife. You're much bigger. It's that we usually come like a bit, puffed up. Like, I know stuff, I got some life experience. I know I've been around, the block once or twice, not my first rodeo, all that type of stuff. Like, I know a little bit of, Chassidut, I learned it here and there. So Rebbe Nachman said, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. But I want you to just come open to feeling and listening. You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you why it becomes exceptionally healthy. Because start from that place, but you don't sit there like this. To the contrary, Rebbe Nachman would tell his students, he would say, take this Torah, ask a kasha on it. Ask a kasha on it. So Rabbi Moti told me last night, he's like, the Brisker Rav didn't take his Torah, give it to the student and say, like, ask kashas on it. No, this is it. This is the Torah. If you have a kasha, if you have a difficulty, I'm happy for you to ask it. Rebbe Nachman said, ask questions on this. Meaning he was inviting you into it. He was inviting you in. He was saying, let me just be open to what's happening here, but then tell me everything you have to say. That's what these big oversized versions are, is write your notes everywhere. The more you write, the better. And he says one of the powerful things about learning Lekutei Moharan is the first time through, you're like, maybe you paid attention to something, you like shelved, okay, like there was a certain word that didn't really make sense to me. So, okay, but I kind of got the general idea of what's going on. He says, wait a second, something didn't make sense. Like, make a note of that. The next time you go over it, you're going to have like a new understanding. Oh, I know I was feeling something. If you're feeling something, write it, say it. Rebbe Nachman wants to bring you in to this world and hear your chiddush. It's a very big klal on this. He wants to hear your thoughts on this. So I think that's the healthiness, is that forget about you not being present. You're so present, but you start with, I'm open to this aura. In my feeling, it's like the feeling of like a person listening to his wife. Like, I want to hear what you have to say for real. But then you could talk. Then once you're in, say everything that you're feeling.
How do you know are good Hiroshima? Maybe you are wrong. How?
Maybe you're wrong. If you go against Shulchan Aruch, then you're wrong.
Okay, so we need to study all the Shulchan Aruch first.
No, you don't need to know all Shulchan Aruch. You don't need to know all Shulchan Aruch. But don't be so worried about that. Don't be so worried about that. If you see something in the Torah, and that's why we're going to go through these principles. I think it's a very, very chashuv thing. We're going to see these principles. I think it's very chashuv too, because it's going to give us a whole mahalach in the Lekutei Moharan, these chai principles, the chai klalim. If you feel that there's something that's touching you, that's real. Let yourself speak that out, and with the Chevera also. And it could be that you're going to be walking somewhere, and all of a sudden you have like this new der hair. One of the things about Rebbe Nachman is that you start to feel like he's like with you. You're like walking around, and all of a sudden, like you went to Shachris, and then you're sitting downstairs by the cottage cheese and the tomatoes and the cucumbers, and maybe some eggs. If it's one of the egg days, and all of a sudden something is just like bubbling inside of you that you were thinking about before, and it doesn't leave you; it stays with you. So whatever you're feeling, let it be said. The first klal, though, is that it's minei ubei. Minei ubei means everything is inside the Torah. Rebbe Nachman does not bring anything which is called zaitig, like an outside thing. It's all ideas that are building one to the next. So if something seems like, what did that have to do with anything? Why did he bring that pasuk? Why did he bring that Gemara in Baba Basra? What was the inyan there? I don't see how it fits in. Okay, ask on that. Think about that. But the klal is that it's all building on something in the Torah itself. And each Torah is like its own universe. It's a universe. Every Torah is a universe. A total universe. Another world. Okay, so with those introductions, we're going to go back in. Actually, maybe what we'll do is, because already the time, we're going to start these chai principles. So if you have this English edition, go to page 14. And this is going to set us up to be able to understand, going through the Torah, what's really happening. Okay, so these are the Chai principles. If only your neighbor has one, so we can get another 500 copies if we need. Baruch Hashem. There's no shortage of bracha and shefa here. That's the whole inyan. Is that this light is spreading. It's like it's just moving at this point. So on page 14 it says, Minei ubei.
What is this?
Oh, look at this. Wow. Thank you, Dan. Minei ubei. Minei ubei is principle number 1. So these are the Chai principles, 18 principles of understanding how to understand Lekutei Moharan. I like these new versions. They're also like chunky, you know, like.
They're like real book.
Right, they're amazing.
It's English version.
So this first principle is the foundation on which all the other klalim stand, and it's really the essence of the main derech halimud of Sefer Lekutei Moharan. This principle tells us that the words of Rabbeinu are able to be explained and understood from within each individual Torah without the need for outside explanations. Meaning to say, Moti Gottlieb told me yesterday, he said he was learning with a very big person, a very big gvir, maybe one of the richest people in the Jewish world, who's a brisker, and a very big Talmid Chacham, a chashuv person, and who knows Torah. Shtei shulchanos. Shtei shulchanos mean you have the shulchan of Torah, you have the shulchan of Geld, a big person. And it was very sweet because he said, this person, when he was in America, he called up Rav Moti, invited him out for dinner. And he said, one time you told me that you'd let me, learn Lekutei Moharan with you. So he said, maybe we'll go out for dinner another time. Maybe I'll come over and we'll learn Lekutei Moharan. So he went to his office in Flatbush, nice office, and they opened up a Torah and Lekutei Moharan. And as they're going through, so he wanted to say like something, the Rebbeinu is saying something from Yevamos. So he said, wait a second, Rav Nachman didn't say this is from Yevamos. I know you know Shas and everything, but you're bringing something from the outside in. Let's see where Rebbe Nachman's bringing this from. It's all within the Torah. Be open to that. He said, after that one, he said, you gave me the greatest gift ever. he said, you changed my life. And this, you can't get away from Lekutei. He's like, he called him months later, that you understand, my life has become Rebbe Nachman, like, you gave me something big. So this first klal of Minei ubei is that everything you need is in the Torah. It's all in the Torah itself. These explanations take place by making connections between different sections of the Torah. That's why so much of Nachman will talk about this, is like the bechin of this, and the bechin of this. And the Shashua Olam Haba is the halacha, is the leida, and everything is like built one to the next within the Torah. You start seeing these wondrous connections, which is really things we're talking about in Reb Nosson, of the Pa'ulas Mishtanas, coming to the Achdus HaPashat, of Shabbos Kodesh, coming into the days of the week, and Metat starting to make way for the Achdus HaPashat. That everything is within the Torah itself. And everything that Reb Nosson did, when you learn the Lekutei Halachos on the Torahs, you see, it's only from within the Torah. He's making all the connections from within the Torah, just expanding what's already there.
What else would it be though?
Is me taking, I have Shas, Poiskim, Zoyar, Sifri, Sifra, Toisefta, Maisa Merkava, Maisa Bereshis, I'm holding in Sefer Yetzirah, and I'm like, this seems like an inyan that I learned in Sefer Tanya. I think I can understand this through Reb Chaim. So it could be, but see it within the Torah. Be careful of bringing in all your outside stuff. Try to find chidushim in the Torah itself.
In the Chumash?
I'm saying in the Torah we're in Tinyana Beis, in the Torah that we're learning. Each separate section can be used to explain another section, whether before or after it in the Torah. Even points that may seem insignificant or superfluous can open new doorways to understanding when proper thought, concentration, and hisbodedus is employed. Meaning, when you sit on a Torah and you start to think, like, what was the connection? So one of the things we learned about is the Tamchei Eraisa. Tamchei Eraisa are people that, the ones that give geld to help support Torah. The ones that are helping pay money that Torah should be proliferating in the Jewish people and around the world. So we said that those that are giving money, that's like the blood right? That's like when we said that a woman, before she gives birth, we had a whole section about that her legs become cold.
That was crazy.
This is just, you realize like Rebbe Nachman is, and that's what Paro meant when he said that, how will I know which ones are the ones that are ready to give birth so we can chuck their kids into the Nile? He said, oh, don't worry. Once you see their legs become cold and stone-like, and the blood is rushing out of them. So Rebbe Nachman said, it's cold. Yeah, what happens? Before a person gives birth, the blood rushes from the legs, the extremities, to go to the womb, to create stress in order to birth a child. That's the physiology of what's happening. So he said that's like those that support Torah learning. They're like the legs of the Jewish people. They support the whole body. That when they give money, they lose the money that they have right now. Because look, they gave it to the tzaddik. They gave it to the Torah scholars. They gave it to Eish HaTorah. They gave it in order that Torah should go forth in the world. But then they get it back because the blood then comes back into normal circulation into their body, into their extremities, and they birthed something into the world. So you start thinking about this, like, just spend time with that idea. What's the connection? Is it an absolute connection? That when I'm giving money, it's literally birthing the Torah, or it's letting a tzaddik be able to sit and learn, but the blood is literally like pushing out the baby. So what is it? Is it exactly the same? Is it somewhat the same? You start sitting with this. This is what I mean. You have thoughts. This should be fully written up. Yes, write as much as you can in this. Your thoughts, your feelings. These connections and drushes that we make between the sections of a Torah are specifically to be drawn from one Torah being learned and not from other places or even other Torahs in Lekutei Moharan. It's an important thing. Oh, didn't Rebbe Nachman say this? Okay, that's a chashuv thing. But the main principle of Minei Ubei is that inside the Torah alain, inside the actual Torah, it's everything you need to enter that universe. And what you're starting to do is you're making the neural connections between all the things that Rebbe Nachman was talking about in that Torah, in Tinyana Beis. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, there's a lot of terms that I'm a little unfamiliar with. So when you say inside the Torah, you say that there are specific parts of the Torah, and you're saying within each specific part, that's all you need?
Yes.
And so if I bring in another part that's considered part of Torah and take that, that's only being brought for the purposes of connecting the two Torahs?
If I'm connecting, let's say, the example of we're learning Tinyana Beis.
Okay.
It's the second Torah in the second section. So it talks about like saying Todah. And you start to think to yourself like, oh, like wasn't Yehuda, like didn't he have to do with Todah? Like wasn't his name, Apama Oides Hashem, like that Leah? Oh, I start thinking about Leah. So did Rebbe Nachman say anything about that? So if he didn't, in this Torah, I mean in Torah Tinyana Beis, it means that maybe the thanks that we're talking about in this Torah is not the same shade, the same type of thanks that we see in Yehuda. Maybe he's trying to pull you into another way of looking at saying thank you, which specifically we know in our Torah, he's talking about the thank you and the appreciation that comes in the world to come. Yeah.
So is the downside of connecting another Torah to the one going inside that you might end up sort of connecting something or projecting something that's well connected, not the actual message?
Yes, not that mahalach of that Torah, not that universe. Now, everything is connected, obviously. Everything's connected. But to get like this ore, this big light, is that within the Torah itself, the connections and the super connections you start making within the Torah pulls you into what he's trying to open you up to. So that's an important thing, is that you start seeing that within the Torah itself, you want to be able to find these connections and chidushim within the Torah. Don't worry, it's fine if you start seeing things from outside the Torah. It's all Torah. But he's saying the great light that is contained within Lekutei Moharan. But this is like, ish mi pi ish. This is the Mesorah in Breslov, is that Minei Ubei, inside the Torah itself, has the light that you need in the Torah itself.
What's important of these 18 principles?
The 18 principles teach us how to learn Lekutei Moharan.
Torah?
The Torah of Nachman. That these are principles in really being able to get the great experience and the light that is contained in Lekutei Moharan and the pleasure of this Torah and the universe and the tzaddik emes. There's these principles that will guide us through. So he gives an example. There are many ways in which these connections can be drawn, too many to list here, but here are a few examples. Connections can be made by use of the same word or language. Return to the same concept, meaning you see within the Torah, same words, same language. Rebbe Nachman goes back to the same concept, mentioning stories, facts or personalities from the same place in Tanakh or Chazal. The unifying factor of them is they are all coming from the same Torah in Lekutei Moharan. You have to pay attention. Why did he bring you something from Eoiv all of a sudden? Why did he bring you something from some Tikkunei Zoyar? There must be something here that's intrinsically connected to the Torah. There are a few exceptions to the rule, as we will see in Principles 5, 11, and 18. Principles 5 and 11 refer to the importance of learning each pasuk or Maimer Chazal brought by the Rebbe in depth and in its context. Okay, you hear that? That's very chashuv. Which means, and they also just put out the Tablet Torah, they put out that, it's a minor misgaber. They put out all of the Chazals and all of the psukim on each thing that Rebbe Nachman mentions. Meaning to say, let's say Rebbe Nachman brings you a pasuk in Yechezkel. So here it's appropriate to open up Yechezkel. What does Rashi say on that pasuk? If Rebbe Nachman brought a pasuk, let's make sure we understand the pasuk. What's the Metzudas David say on the pasuk? What do the Pashtanim, the simple meaning, say on the pasuk? What do the Sforno say on the pasuk? Meaning, if there's a verse, then there it is appropriate to. Let me just understand this. What Rebbe Nachman meant by that verse. He mentioned a verse. Principle like 18 explains that when dealing with a certain musag, concept or understanding that's brought in Lekutei Moharan, we may need to do some clarification as to the meaning of the concept itself. Sometimes we already have an understanding of the concept in question, but we require some additional learning in order to gain the proper grasp of the concept the Rebbe is bringing. So here, meaning to say, there may be some times when you just need a little bit more understanding of the musag, the concept, and there we can look to understand that musag. But as far as everything being contained within the Torah itself, that's called Minei Ubei. And then he brings Lamaisa. This is so beautiful. This is so amazing. So Lamaisa. Lamaisa means practically. What do? After learning through each Torah once or twice to become familiar with the roadmap, right? Torah Bay is not so long, a couple pages. In this edition, it's longer. How many pages? Sacha Kol though? Not that many pages. Basically from 33 till 57. Okay, 24 pages. So not so long. And it's big letters, lots of space. You see, in these pages 33 to 57, if they have a whole section on the side, Sheilas Ha'aris V'Bi'urim, your own thoughts and questions. So after a person goes to the Torah once or twice, we should right away begin to look for connections from each paragraph to all of the others. Meaning, what was unifying everything? We talked about a lot of interesting things in Torah Base.
What's the flow?
What's the flow? What are the connections? What is Toimchei Araisa? Those, meaning things that we didn't even see connections in. What does it mean that people who are giving tzedakah, they are like the blood also rushing to the heart? Why do we mention the heart and the womb and the lungs? Rebbe Nachman brought us from our legs to our heart to our womb for women and the lungs. What are the connection of those body parts? What are the connection of those ideas? Even though they might have come in separate sections. Why do we talk about halacha in one place and emes in another place? Why do we talk about the pleasures of the world to come? So some of them we see connections, but then you start just walking around thinking like, taka, like the pleasure of the world to come is deeply connected to giving birth. Let me just sit with that for a little bit. Like the real Lekutei Moharan learning is like you're sitting with a concept. And that's where your chidushim, minei ubei, are coming from. You're sitting there and you're thinking, like, what is that connection? That's what I mean. Your own individuality is coming from within the Torah. And that whatever you say, I want to hear. You're thinking about, the world to come. So the first thing that comes to me when I think about the world to come in birth, I think about, there's a famous A.B. Rottenberg song, Journeys, which is called Conversations from the Womb, which is all about, and maybe we'll play it, because I always get emotional when we play this song.
Alicia?
No, Baruch Hashem. It's not called Isha. Maybe it's like Avram. Is that it's a conversation of two twins in the womb. Two twins. And, anybody heard the song before? Remind me tomorrow, maybe we'll play it.
Why not today?
Shach, those that are daven nates, I'm jealous. But Shachris is coming in a minute or two. So, they're having this conversation, and one of them says like, and it's all dark in here. And one of them says like, "Don't worry, like we're gonna get out. Like there's a new world that's coming. Like well, don't be so fickle. Or, you heard about things. Like there's nothing after this world. There's nothing, nothing." It's like, why do you talk that way, brother? Come on, there's a great world that's awaiting us. It's like, oh, don't be so, like gullible. There's nothing going to happen afterwards. This is it. And all of a sudden, the first brother, the birth pangs start happening. The first brother exits. And the brother who's like the negative one is like, I've lost my brother. He's gone forever. And he hears screaming. And little does he know that those screams, the world that he entered into is Mazel Tov, and what he thought was the end was just the beginning. It was just the beginning. And that image is the same thing of what death is. He thought he was dying, but he was really living, meaning whatever he thought life was. So what we think life is, this world is compared to a womb also. We're like in a shas of Iber. So what we think death is, whatever this world, like a womb is, being birthed to this world, imagine what this world being birthed to the world to come is. That's the first thing that my mind goes to, of Rebbe Nachman's connecting, birthing, and the world to come. That whatever we think this world is just so tiny. When we're and but we're going to big places. So you start thinking within the Torah for connections. When we have questions that don't seem to have answers, we should write them down and hold on to them. We will see that as we continue to go through the Torah a few more times and in more depth, the answers to the questions will begin to emerge from other parts of the Torah itself. And if some of the questions don't get answered, it's okay too. Is that you start being machadesh within, and as you go over the Torah again, people would go over Torahs for years, and they would say, I'm just beginning to understand the unit, and that's when the ore starts to light up. We should be zoicha mamish, should be zoicha, as we're going deeper and deeper into the world of Lekutei Moharan, to understand this great matana, this great gift, and that we all have a chelik in this. This is a present for all of us, and that all of us, it's not by chance. It's all hashgacha pratis that we're all here together at this time in the world and Jewish destiny. That we have this opportunity to connect to these Torahs. That it opens us up in a new and wondrous way. We should be zoicha mamish, that this light should spread more and more. And then b'siyat d'shmaya, we're going to have tchias amesim. We're going to be able to learn in person with Rebbe Nachman and all the tzaddikim. We should be zoicha mamish to Mashiach Tzidkein b'mhirim. Amen. Oh, Yahweh Ashreinu, Mato Elkeinu, Manayim Goralein. ay 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 Asheinu Matocha Hoy Manayim Galaleinu Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 ba da 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya ya Asheinu Matocha Umanayim Galaleinu Asheinu Matocha Hay Umanayim Galaleinu Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Shachris. Adam, we love you.